Hi guys and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a video that's been inspired by another artist, Cyana Ink. Recently Cyana Ink has shown off her palette collection and I felt inspired and felt that I wanted to do the same and show off my paint collection that I've managed to collect over the years, and I thought it'd be fun to show, and I thought that it would be also interesting for me to see actually how much I have, because sometimes I think I forget. Before we start, I just want to throw out a couple of disclaimers. All of the paint I got here, most of it I purchased myself, and the stuff I haven't purchased has been gifted to me from other artists. There's no paid advertising, or no one sent me stuff to sway my opinion on them. There's no bias here. It's all been mostly bought by myself or gifted, so yeah, there's no bias or anything. And the second thing I wanted to just say before we get into it, there's going to be a lot of paint and lots of palettes. I've collected over the last 8 or 9 years, and a lot of it I bought specifically to review and to try out. I don't recommend anybody buying this much paint. You'll never use it. I will never use this in my lifetime. I'm probably going to try at some point downsize it, because I do have a lot. But you don't need this many, and I really don't recommend people buying this many. So do keep that in mind. This is not me saying you need this amount of paint, and this is not me bragging either. I'm just kind of wanting to catalogue it and maybe talk about it. I thought it would be interesting to see. So let's get into it. First, we're going to look at my paint tubes. Now, I do have some paint tubes on my wall on a rack. The ones I use the most, which are in my studio palette. But I also have this box here. This is a very old box. This came from a Jackson's order many, many years ago. You can see it's a very beaten up, dusty box. And these are where a lot of my tubes are held. So many in here. Again, these are just kind of backups or tubes that I don't use very much, so I don't know what's going to happen to them. They're just sort of sitting in there gathering dust, really, like a lot of the palettes. Which is another reason why I don't recommend buying so many. I've got so many paints that just sat. And I don't think I'm the only one, and that's why I don't recommend getting so many, because a lot of them just won't go used. So that's my tubes, well, most of my tubes, I believe. So let's start on the palettes. And I'm not going to do these in any particular order. I just got them out and put them around my desk. Literally, I'm surrounded. And we're just going to do them in random order by what's close to me and what I can grab. So the first one, this was actually I think it was a Christmas present, this first one. And this is an Artist Lofts palette. I really don't recommend paints like these. These have hardly been used. They're really bad paints. They're like dollar store paint. They're dry, they're chalky. There's no pigment information. They're not going to be light fast. I don't recommend these. I don't really know why I haven't thrown this out, because I'm never going to use it. They're just not suitable to use for most of watercolour painting. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that one. The next one, what else do I have next to me? Let's go this side. So this is a set that I'm yet to review, and this is the Kuretake Gansai set. Let me zoom you in a tiny bit. So this is the Kuretake Gansai set. This is a set, I believe, of 12. So this review is pending, so I can't wait to share my thoughts and views on this one. I think this is quite a nice little set, and it comes in a nice cardboard box, which is a little bit different to some of them. I think the pans are huge, and they're also removable, so you can obviously make yourself a custom palette with these, but I haven't. And you can see the pans are huge. They're easily sort of 2 or 3 half pans worth of paint in these tubes, so quite a good value for money if you like a lot of the same colours and you think you're going to be using a lot of the same colour. But that's the Kuretake set. Oh no, I made a bit of a mess. That is another thing, some of these palettes might be quite messy. I've not seen one in a while. There's a good chance that some accidents might happen along the way. The next set I'm going to grab is this Winsor & travel kit, or travel palette. This comes, the paint's are out of it at the moment because I'm currently cleaning it. because it was very messy. This comes out with some fold out palette areas, space for the paint pans in here, half pans, and it also has this removable water flask which doubles up as a palette too, a mixing space. So it's great if you want to travel with your paints and you want some water, and then this also doubles up as a water reservoir. So pretty cool. If you like that kind of thing and you like to travel with your paints. I don't travel with my paints, but it's still a nice set. But I'm currently cleaning the pans, so they're not in there at the minute. And this is a professional set I've got. I think you can get a common version, or there was a common version at some point. Winsor & Newton have loads of sets and loads of different sets, so yeah, it's definitely good to do your research with them because they have so many, particularly vintage ones as well. I've just reminded myself that I don't actually have all of the sets here. I have a couple of vintage Winsor & Newton sets which I have put into storage somewhere because I'm not going to use them, and they're more for collection purposes because they're vintage, so they're not included in this spread because I don't know where they are at the minute. They're in storage, but they're not too special really. These are all the palettes that are usable. Some of the vintage sets aren't usable, so it's kind of pointless not including them. The next set I have is a set of Holbein watercolours, and this is the tube set, 6 tube set. I've reviewed Holbein watercolours quite a couple of times on my channel, quite controversially because I'm not a huge fan of the watercolours. I just find they're very expensive in the UK for what they are, and I don't think they live up to that price point. But they're nice paints. I will try and leave links where I can to reviews and videos that I have of each of these paints that I'm going to try and show today, so keep an eye out in the iCards and description if not. But yeah, this is these ones. Let's try and put that to the side. What one should we go for next? Let's go for this one. This one that you might have seen a bit more recently. These are the Winsor colours, and these were sent to me by Cyanic Ink, and they are finished watercolours. Cyanic did tell me that they are quite cheap and very low quality, but I found them to be okay. They're not too bad for student grade paints, and we did use those for a review, and they were really nice to play with. So that's that set. Oh, God. I have so many. Let's do the folding palettes because I don't really know what's in them. I've got lots of folding palettes where I poured paint from brands and stuff over the years. I don't really know what's in them. So this one looks like an empty one. So there's no paint, not really any paint in here at the moment. I think I've got a couple of paint experiments, but nothing really in that one. Not a problem. This one, this one is, we've had some leakage. Or maybe not. I can't remember what these colours are. These did house at one point the M. Graham watercolours that Otto sent me, but I think since then I have washed out because it went mouldy. I want to say these might be the core watercolours. Some of these, they look like core paints. So maybe they're core. I'm not really sure. And this is a kind of joy that we're going to find because I don't remember what half of them are. Next one, we've got some big palettes. And there is a one small fold-up palette as well. The smaller one, these are, again, I think the top row are Winsor & Newton, not Winsor & Newton, the art creation from Royal Talons, and that's the box set to go with them. And the bottom ones are a cheaper brand from the works called Boldmere Colours, which I'm reviewing at some point. They're quite cheap watercolours, so interested to see how that fares in the review. And then, let's move that out of the way. Like I say, I have a lot. There's paint everywhere. These big ones. I think one of these was sent to me by Otto as well. I think it's this one. And these are Holbein watercolours, and this was, yes. So this is a set that Holbein did for it was a botanical theme set, and these are all the botanical colours from that set from Holbein, and there's quite a few. It's still a very large palette. So again, this one that was gifted rather than bought. I did do a review on these as well at one point. But yeah, these are the Holbein ones, so they were fun to play with. You can see there's definitely some binder separation where they've been sat for a long time. And then this one is, these are Schmincke watercolours. So this one I did a long time ago. I believe it was Gabor who gifted these to me, and I poured them into a palette here. And these were also really fun to play with. I really enjoyed it. I painted, I think it was a red onion. So that was interesting. I've not revisited some of these paints. I think I need to revisit some. I remember these being quite fun to play with. So definitely wouldn't mind revisiting some of these colours and palettes. Let's go to the right hand side of me. Let's grab these ones. I think these are student palettes we have. So this one is the Sennelier La Petite palette, which is a student grade palette. I don't recommend people buy this because I don't think there's any pigment information on them, but they are really nice paints. And this is a really interesting palette. You don't see palettes like this so much, so definitely an interesting one. Let's pop you back in the box. And then next we have, I think I've got some more student palettes. We have Winsor & Newton Cotman that is a bit grubby. These are Cotman paints. I really like this palette. I really wanted this one before I got it because it looked really cool and really snazzy. It still does when it's clean. But this is the palette. I replaced two of the colours in here because it came with a black and a white, which I didn't want nor need. And this one also comes with a travel water brush. So you've put water in this reservoir and you can paint with it without the use of a separate painting jar or anything. But I think this way stretched so far because you can really muddy up your colours, and there's not an awful lot of water. So again, I don't really travel with my paints, so it's just not really needed for me personally. And then we might as well continue with some of the student sets. We've got here a Van Gogh palette. I love the Van Gogh watercolour line. It's a really good set of student grade paints. I really recommend them if someone's looking for student grade paints. They're probably the best brand of student grade that you can get out there, in my opinion. And I love playing with these. And yeah, I should look into trying them again at some point because they are really fun and really good paints. So where should we go next? Let's go behind me. So this one is a bit of a special palette. This was my first ever watercolour palette. It comes from WH Smith, and again, they're really, really cheap watercolours. They're cakes, they're very dry, they're very chalky, and they're super cheap. This palette costs like £5, so super cheap. I wouldn't recommend them to people, but they were my first ever set that I bought, so they do hold that value. But they're not really worth buying. They're definitely on the same level as like Artist Loft. Let's go to the left, and this is a gouache palette that I've got coming up. And this is a really recent purchase. I've only had this about a week, so I've not had a chance to unbox it or play with it. And this is some Himi gouache. If you've not seen the videos before, this is like really viral gouache because it's like jelly gouache. It's a different kind of gouache. I got this from Amazon because it was really cheap. It was on sale for like £8, so super cheap. I wouldn't recommend getting this otherwise because, again, there's no pigment information. And that's a big issue for me because you don't know what you're painting with. Pigment information for me is one of the most important things when it comes to a paint. So definitely something to consider when you're buying paint. But yeah, it'll be fun to play with these and see what they're like to paint with. I'm going to stick with gouache and we're going to look at the next gouache palette. Well, it's not really much of a palette, but this is a painting set of Royal Talons gouache. Yeah, it's just called Royal Talons gouache. And these are really old. I got these from the Netherlands from a shop called Van Bleek or Van Beek, I think they're called. And one of the colours is probably in that box. but they're nice gouache paints, and I do enjoy using them when I can. But I haven't used them in a while. But they're really fun. It also came with, I don't think it's in there, a little booklet with some information that was really helpful as well with gouache. Let's continue with the left a little bit. So these were the bold mirror paints I was talking about earlier, and this is the tubes. I'm not going to get them out with that. That's just the tube cardboard set that I've got. I poured it into a palette to make it easier. So let's go behind me. Yeah. Let's go to this tiny palette here. So this is a palette that I got. I purchased the palette separately. I got this from Cornelius. It's a tiny travel kit. I think I put in here paints from, I want to say they are Cellar Paint Co. watercolours, which are a Handmade brand. And then here I think these are gifted Winsor & Newton paints, vintage Winsor & Newton paints that somebody in the community, I think Andy is his name, very kindly sent to me. So these were fun to play with. I've not used these for a very long time. Same with the Cellar Paint Co. ones. I really should look at using them. But yeah, that's this little set. Super cute set. I think I've used this as a travel set before when I went travelling once. But yeah, they were fun. What else do we have? Let's go to the left. Right again. Next up we have a Schmincke palette. I have a couple of Schmincke palettes, and this one is a £4 set. I actually got this from eBay really cheaply. I think it was about £40 British or so for the entire 12 £4 set, which is a really good price. Is it 12? Yeah, £12 set. And these are really good. And I really want to paint more with these. They're really cool colours, and I really love the Schmincke paint. So definitely want to paint more with them. And Schmincke tints are really nice tints as well. So that's that one. I need to keep a tab which ones I've looked at and which ones I haven't. Where should we go next? Let's go to my left. This one. This is a big set. What's in this one? So these are handmade paints. So these are some of my handmade paints that I make myself that I've got in here. And they're very grubby, they're very grim. They need a very big cleanup. And some of them need throwing out because they've gone gross. And some of them have corroded from being in touch too much long with the metal. Which can happen if you leave them a very long time. I mean, some of these are literally over 5 years old. And this actual palette, the actual palette itself, the tin, was my first ever studio palette. I got this tin from a shop in The Hague, in the Netherlands. And it was my first palette that I ever bought, the metal tin. So it's got some sentimental value, and it's got my handmade paints in there. So that's that one. The next one, we're going to go to the left again. I've got this old Winsor & Newton palette here. It's a plastic palette. You can, I don't think you can buy these new anymore. I think you can get them maybe second hand. And these just have, I guess, random colours in them. There are some handmade colours. There's some old vintage Winsor & Newton colours that are really old. And I think I've also got some Da Vinci colours in here, I want to say. Yeah, and some random colours. Some of them I think are handmade. Let me have a look. Yeah, I don't even know what that one is. I'm not so good at labelling on my paints, I will be honest. Oh, here's one of Ame's handmade paints. Again, I don't know what colour it is. I'm really bad at labelling some of them. What's this one? Oh, Rose of Ultramarine. Daniel Smith. Yeah, again, I don't know what they all are. Some of them are very, very random. But yeah, this is this palette. I don't use it very often. Maybe I should. I probably need to throw away a lot of these paints where I don't know what they are. Or they're not very good. I mean, we've got ones like this, which are Ultramarine Blue, which is from Turner's. I might as well bin it. But yeah, that's that palette. Where are we going to go next? Let's go behind me, because we've got lots behind me. We've got this small palette here. Oh, it's stuck. There must be some paint. Yep, some paint. Whoops. And these, I think these are my Van Gogh watercolours. Yeah, these are my Van Gogh paints. I don't use, and some of these come from a tube, some of them are actual half pans. and they're all Van Gogh. And there's a couple of not Rembrandt. I got that wrong. These are the Rembrandt paints. So this is the professional line of Royal Talents, and there are a couple of Van Gogh colours down the bottom here. But these are all Van Gogh paints. These are all Rembrandt paints when I get it right, and they're really nice paints. I need to do a review on them at some point. That's a review that's been a very long time coming that I haven't gotten around to. The next one, have I done this one? I haven't. Let's do this one. We've got another small set, and this can be a bit of a mishmash set as well. And in this one, I think we've got, I forgot what they are. We have a couple of White Nights colours there in the middle. I think these ones here are Lucas paints. And then, I think these are the Holbein paints I poured into a pan from the tube set that we had. From this tube set. And I think these are the Holbein ones across the top. So I mean, some of these have been here such a long time, I can't really remember what they are. That set. I don't really decorate my palettes. I should decorate them with some stickers. Cyan has some really cool stickers on hers. Not being biased, they were my stickers. Next up, we have another small set, and this is a Schmincke set. And this is the Schmincke vintage set. So these are vintage, well, it's designed to be vintage style, so you can see the name there on the side. And it's a £50 set, really cool set. I got this probably about a year or two ago after Christmas. I think I saw it on sale. Annoyingly, they're even cheaper now, so that's a shame. I don't think they really took off that much. I think they were a bit gimmicky from what I can see, but nice colours, and that's more Schmincke paint. What have we got next? Oh, another small set. I don't know what's in this one. Ah, yes, I do. So these are handmade paints from Ame and Eve Bolt. I'm a huge fan of Ame's handmade paints, and there are some of these in here from her. And there's also some colours on the top here from Boxapaint. He's another handmade paint maker in the UK. I recommend his paints. I'll leave links down to their pages down below if you want to get some paints, if they're still available. I don't think Ame makes any more, but I know Boxapaint still has some for sale, so I recommend going to grab some of those. I love my handmade paints, as you can probably tell. Next up, let's go behind me again. Got another palette here. I think I know what these are. This one I'm not going to know what they are. No, I do. These are Jackson's own brand watercolours. So they are paints from the Jackson's line, which people often say is also the same place that Sennelier make their paints. So they are supposed to be Sennelier copycats. And these are really nice paints. I love the Jackson's colours so much. They're really nice paints. So if you do see them anywhere, make sure you grab them because they're really cool and I really like using them. And these are £4. I much prefer £4 to £50, even though most of my collection is £50 because £50 are cheaper. But these are great paints. Where are we going next? Let's have a look at this big one to my left. I think these are another home brand, and these are cast out watercolour paints. I got these ages ago and I reviewed them. I haven't used them since. I'm not a huge fan of these paints. I find that they are very lifting when they're used, and yeah, they're just not that amazing. They're okay, but I just don't find they compare to other artist grade paints. They're just not that amazing for what they are. But they are artist grade and they are fairly good quality, but I just didn't enjoy them that much. Perhaps I need to revisit some of them and use them again. I mean, what's the information on some of these? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to revisit them at some point. That's a tube set. I've got paint all over me. Right, that's the problem with doing this. You're going to get covered in paint. Let's go for one that was behind me. Okay, that's an empty palette. So this one is more handmade paints. So these are mine though, this time. And I've got a collection here. I need to go through all these and catalogue these properly because there's loads here. and they need cataloguing, because some of them I have no idea what they are, and I probably have duplicates of some of them as well. So yeah, definitely need to go through them and catalogue them properly. Where we go next? To the left. Another duplicate palette. Again, these are handmade paints. Most of them are handmade paints by me. I think there's one here from Crema. I think that's a Crema paint. And yeah, the rest of them are mine. Handmade. Oh no, they're not. We've got one here from Handmade. No, that's not Handmade's. That's mine still. They are all mine. And also there we have some manganese blue in there as well. But yeah, more handmade paints. Where are we going to go next? Well, let's go to the left. We've got some handmade palettes, I think. So the first one is actually vintage Rembrandt paints. So I got some vintage ones on Etsy from a seller in the Netherlands who had some Rembrandt paints. They're all stuck to the lid, and I just put them in this cheap set for now. I have labelled them, but these are really nice colours. Again, they're vintage, so I don't want to use them too much because they are vintage. Some of them are discontinued. You can't get them anymore. Paints are so sticky. Okay, they're not going to move. I'm not going to be making them a mess. I think they need to go in the freezer to firm up. They're sticking. Okay, so I've cleaned up that mess now. That was quite messy. Let's move on to the next palette. And this is actually a handmade palette from Bolt. And this was one of the first handmade palettes I got. We did a paint swap many, many years ago when I first started on YouTube. And these are, whoops, Ever's paints. As you can see, that one there is a bit dry. They've been here a very long time, so please don't take it as what the quality is like now. They are really good paints. These are just very old, which is why they're a bit dry, because they're so old. But yeah, these were really fun. I really enjoyed using these and playing with these. The video is super old and the quality is not that great of the video, but these were fun to play with and I really enjoyed it. And it's a super cute palette. I think she only made 3 of these little palettes, so it feels special that I have one. And they're numbered, so this is the number 1. So 2 other people have one of these, I guess, collectible items. So next palette, let's have a look. Let's go behind me. So here is one that you might have seen recently, and this is the Core watercolour set. I did a review on Core paints very recently, and this is a set. It's quite an old set because it has some discontinued paints in here. But yeah, this was super fun to play with and I really enjoyed the end result. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this one because we've only just seen it. So it's still very fresh in my mind and I think we're done seeing it. So next up we have a really old set that I actually got on eBay, and this is a Sennelier set of paints. Some of these are their old paint formula, so the ones across the top here, and these ones are their old paint formula. And some of these are discontinued. There are a couple of discontinued colours in here, including Mars Yellow, which is made from PO49. So it's a really cool set. It's a really interesting palette because there's not really a lot of room for mixing. But it's also really unique with its folding layout like this. And actually this palette might actually be broken. I think the hinge has gone on it. But yeah, it's a unique palette to say the least. It's definitely different. I think you can still get it. I'm not 100% sure. You might not be able to. So maybe just double check. In fact, I want to probably double check that at some point because I don't know if you can still buy these outside of maybe eBay or secondhand. That is the Sennelier palette. And next up we've got one that I haven't actually yet used, and these were gifted to me from Rings. And these are golden. No, not golden. These are, I think of the name. Magello. These are Magello paints in here. I desperately need to try and use them to review them a little bit. I've not gotten around to doing that as of yet, but these were very kindly gifted and I need to use these at some point. I do have a colour chart somewhere, so I need to fish that out and try and paint something with them to give you an honest review of the Magello paints. And then next we've got some more handmade paints, and this is the Oslo watercolour set from Ame, Eventually Everything Mixes. And this is a full pan set of some of the watercolours that she made, and it's actually inspired and based off of a band in Germany. I think they're called Bleeding Blackwood, I want to say they're called. And this is based off of their album and some of their songs that they made. They're really cool paints. I really like them, and they're really nice. Again, it's cracked because it's very old, but they're really nice paints. Definitely recommend them. What have we got next? I think we are getting towards the end. I think the end is in sight. Let's grab one of these. I'm convinced I have more sets. Perhaps some of them are in storage because they're kind of more unique. So this one is kind of a weird set. This is not really a set, it's just kind of random colours. I think I've got some old Holland paints up here, some Winsor and Newton ones down here, and then some random pans here. Some of these are handmade by Anya, which is at Catafel. I think these ones here, the pink is pink, and I think there's a green that she made. And yeah, I think the rest of them are Old Holland and Winsor and Newton, I think. Yeah. Again, I never really used it very much. I used to have the Old Holland ones in my palette, my main studio palette, when it was the big black tin. But since then, I have obviously downsized and just got on the one palette that's not panned, which we'll get to in a bit, because I don't really like pans as much. I like to have large wells for my paints. So that's that palette. And then we've got this palette here. Don't think I've looked at this one. Oh, they've gone a bit fluffy. This is what I mean, sometimes you don't know what you're going to expect. These need a bit of a clean up. And these are more Ame paints. Eventually Everything Mixes. These are some of my favourite paints. And they're very well used. You can tell by the nice large dips in them. I've used these paints quite a lot. And they need some TLC. Sometimes if you don't come to your paints for a while, or you shut them away when they're still damp, you might get some furry paints, but I love these paints, and I'm really sad that Ame doesn't make them anymore. And the moment she does start making them again, I will be buying more. So next we're going to go to, let's go to this palette. This is a fun one, and this is the Schmincke Academy. It's a themed palette. Each year Schmincke do a themed palette that's like a decorated tin, and this is one of them I got one year, and you can open up. These are all Schmincke Academy paints, so they are student grade paints. And then here I've got some bright blue. I think that's a, oh, get more mess. That is a White Knight's colour. And then there's also a yellow here. I don't know what this yellow is. So Winsor and Newton pan. I don't know what of though. I probably need to find out and try and label it. I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, super pretty palette. Where are we next? Got a couple of pans left. So we've got this one. These are more handmade paints. This is the largest palette I have. And these are all handmade paints as well. Again, they all need cataloguing properly and labelling properly. The labels are not very good, so I definitely need to go through them. And this is where a lot of the paints are. So yeah, this is my handmade paints. It's really interesting to see some of these. Some of these are like some of the first paints I've ever made. So some of them are interesting. So I think we've only got one or two more left, and I think we are reaching the end in about time. The next one we have is this one, and I think this might be a random palette too. Yeah, total random palette. So many of these were gifted to me from Katie Hanna, who is the one behind Hannah's Honey Hues. And here we've got some Roman Schmal paints. And then we've got some, I want to say they're Da Vinci paints, I think. These guys are Da Vinci paints. Some of these, no, they're not Da Vinci, they are Dale Rowney even, sorry. Dale Rowney paints. And then I also think I do have a couple of Da Vinci paints here and there. Again, they're a bit furry, I've not touched these for a very long time. And I probably need to. I did review the Roman Schmals at one point. I don't think I really played with the Da Vinci ones, so I need to play with them at some point. No idea what the colours are. So I long lost the list of what they are, or what they're meant to be, because I got them years ago. What's that colour there? Again, a total random colour. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I definitely need to downsize and organise my paints a lot better. Some of them are going to be duplicates, some of them are going to be random, some of them are going to be probably too mouldy to rescue. So we're going to have to see what I can do. And I definitely think I want to sell a couple that I don't use anymore. Not because I dislike them, but because they're just not getting any love, and I think they should get some love. So we are now down to the last two watercolour palettes that I can show you. As I said, some of them are in storage because they're like vintage paint sets that I'm just not going to use, and we're just clogging up space, so I just put them in storage because I'm not ever going to use them. Most of them in the sets are probably unusable because they're too old and too dried out. So let's go on with the last two sets I'm going to show you, and both of these are my studio palettes. So these are hugely important sets, and this is where, when I talk about when you don't need this many paints, I think part of being a watercolour artist is exploring different paints and pigments and then narrowing it down and refining your watercolour palette to what you want and what you want to paint. I think it's a real discovery. It's one of the really fun parts of the journey. It doesn't need to be as expensive as I made it, but this is where I've ended up. And this was my first ever, I want to say, proper studio palette. Obviously I know I had the metal palette that I had. It had something crazy like 48 colours in it at one point. I think I looked at it once and there was some dust on one of the pans and thought, that's just too much to have dust. Like, I've got too many paints, I need to downsize and refocus my palette on what I'm actually using. And I moved over to this. It's got 12 wells on it along the top, and then obviously 3 large mixing wells, and I really love this palette, and it was really fun. It was my favourite palette I think I've ever had to paint with. However, as you probably noticed, there's a lot of cat hair stuck to it and dust stuck to it because there's no topper to it, and there was only 12 wells on it, so it wasn't quite enough for all of my colours, and I was finding myself putting blobs of paint on the edges of the mixing wells. So I hung it up. It now hangs in my office and my studio as decoration, so it doesn't matter how dusty it gets. And I have replaced it with something a bit more cleaner, more convenient. I can't really dig the paint out of this because some of it's too hard, and to be honest, some of it's now starting to get a bit musty, so I probably need to clean this up and tidy it. I'm half tempted to pour maybe resin on top of it to seal it properly, to make it a decorative item maybe. Who knows, maybe I should break it out and try and paint with it again. But it's still there, frozen in time, even with my last mixes in it, and I love this palette so much. I just wish it had a lid and a couple more wells, maybe along the sides here, and it would be perfect. And then last but not least, and probably most importantly, is a palette you've probably all seen a couple of times before, and that is my studio palette. My studio palette, in terms of colours choices, has remained the same for about the last 5 years or so, so I have really narrowed down my collection of what I use regularly, and this is it, all in working order. I have 18 colours here that I use the most, and the 18 that I have here. And these are colours that work for me, they don't work for everybody, but this is what I find works for me, and I really enjoy them. And unlike the other one, this has a lid so I can stop all the unwanted things getting into it, which is always good and helpful. And yeah, I really like this one. It's got wells in it, which are nice and large, put plenty of paint in them, and they've got 3 large mixing areas for me to make up mixes. So yeah, really good. And this is the only one I've decorated with a sticker. It definitely needs updating, I think. So I have got some stickers, and I might decorate my palettes with some stickers at some point. I think might be a fun thing to do. But yeah, these are all my watercolour palettes I have in my studio at the moment. Let me know if there's any you want more details on or a closer look at. And let me know which one your favourite is, and are there any brands I don't have that you think I should take a look at. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time. Take care everyone, and bye bye.